Long before the name Dior sparkled on couture runways, long before it was whispered in salons and splashed across glossy magazines, there was a boy born into poverty, a child surrounded by fields and hard labor, not lace and perfume. He had no reason to believe he'd ever touch the world of luxury. His hands were calloused, his clothes were stitched by his mother, and his aspirations weren't shaped by wealth or privilege, but by a raw hunger to make something beautiful in a world that felt anything but. By day, he worked like everyone else, mending, farming, surviving. But by night, under a flickering candle, he sketched designs on bits of parchment and scraps of fabric. Every swirling line was an escape. Every imagined dress was a whispered promise to himself that one day, someone would wear what he created. Though his hands were tired and his eyes strained, his spirit never wavered. And with every small design, he felt himself inch closer to a future nobody around him could see. As a teenager, he finally scraped together enough money to leave his village, traveling to the city with nothing but his drawings tucked into his coat. He knocked on every door that might listen, most of them shut in his face, but one door, just one, opened. A small Parisian tailor agreed to let him apprentice, and under his careful hands, his dream began to take shape. He learned to cut, he learned to sew, he learned to craft elegance from the simplest of materials. And in those quiet rooms, surrounded by fabric, ideas, and possibility, he planted the first seeds of a future empire that nobody, not even he himself, could fully imagine. Years of hard work began to pay off. That apprentice boy, once overlooked, had become a promising designer. His hands moved like an artist's brush, bringing to life silhouettes that felt bold and timeless at the same time. The city whispered his name. Elite clients began to notice him, enchanted by the softness of his cuts, the balance of his shapes, and the way every piece felt like a love letter to femininity itself. And just like that, the boy who had once mended clothes to survive was starting to shape a whole new vision for fashion. But prestige was never given easily, especially not to someone who had come from nothing. There were rivals who dismissed him as a dreamer. There were critics who questioned whether his style was too different, too daring. More than once, he nearly gave up. More than once, he wondered if the world he was chasing was forever out of reach. But then, at exactly the right moment, he unveiled a revolutionary collection. One that celebrated softness after years of wartime harshness. One that redefined elegance itself. And overnight, Dior was on everyone's lips. His new look sent shockwaves through Paris. Nipped waists, full skirts, and an irresistible sense of romance that would change the course of fashion forever. In a matter of months, he went from being a forgotten apprentice to the most celebrated couturier in the world. Hollywood starlets, aristocrats, and even royalty rushed to wear his designs. And for the first time, the boy who had dreamed in secret could hardly believe what was unfolding before him. His name was now a symbol, not just of beauty, but of triumph. Of what happens when someone who began with nothing refuses to let go of the impossible. And as Dior boutiques opened across Europe and America, as cameras flashed and magazine editors clamored for more, he thought back to those dim nights by candlelight, to every sketch that had kept him going, and he knew this was only the beginning. By the time Christian Dior's couture house became a global empire, the world had embraced his vision as if it had always been there. Every collection, every silhouette, every shimmering gown bore his signature touch, the graceful balance of fantasy and precision that had captivated the world. And when Dior himself passed away far too early, he left behind more than a company. He left behind an ideal, that beauty could bloom from the most unlikely soil, and that brilliance knows no boundaries of birth or fortune. His name would forever be stitched into the fabric of fashion history. But even more powerful was the legacy he gave to anyone who had ever felt small, overlooked, or powerless. He proved that talent and determination could triumph over any obstacle, that a boy who began in poverty could craft a dream so vivid, so daring, it could dress the world in wonder. And as new designers step into the ateliers of Dior, as new visions emerge with each passing season, his story reminds them, and us, of one unbreakable truth: that greatness isn't decided by where you come from, but by how far you dare to go.